Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Talking about topics and stuff. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute Bedlam Podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Absolute Bedlam Podcast. In fact, this could be the last episode of Absolute Bedlam Podcast for quite some time.
Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah. So we're recording this in mid-August. By the time this comes out, we're going to be looking at early mid-October.
Yeah.
Realistically. It's been on the cards for some time internally in ABP world that we're going to take a break. Young Benjamin here is a little bit burnt out from all things ABP.
Yeah.
You know, we've been driving this together for 2.5 years, but for 3.5 years, Ben has been really pushing this and building this from fuck all to where we are now, guys.
Yeah.
There'll still be content, there'll still be rambles, there'll still be lots of things on the cards, but long form content, not for a little while. And there's many, many reasons for that, which is what we're going to dissect and go through this evening.
Yeah.
So Ben, obviously you're the mastermind, the visionary behind ABP.
Yeah.
A lot of what content we put out is your idea. I'll throw things in here and there.
Yeah.
Tell you when you're doing something fucking stupid, and point you in the right direction when I think we could be a little bit more open-minded about the kind of stuff we're putting out. But tell, first and foremost, is address the big elephant in the room that we've just planted here firmly and painted it pink. What's your thought process behind the hiatus?
So I've been thinking about this in terms of 2024 as a whole, because we're near the end of 2024, which is mental. And I think I've potentially taken 2 weeks off in nearly 9 months. And I think we made a decision at the start of this year to only do every other week. And I feel that that's helped. But doing this every week, I can be a bit of a content machine. And stuff just starts going to the backlog and to the log pile. And sometimes we can't see the wood through the trees. We've got people that need episodes out in a month after they've been interviewed. We've got time-sensitive stuff that needs to go out. It's all about deadlines. It's all about working with people and trying to prioritise and sort of collaborate effectively with people. But sometimes, I come to yours nearly every time. And we go to KFC, we go to Toby Carvery, we have something to eat, and I just can't be bothered sometimes. We've had this tonight.
Yeah, we have.
I've had to goad you upstairs to get everything up and ready, and you've obviously done a great job. This looks great. But sometimes I just want to be with John. And I just want to chill out.
I just want to make it clear now that my exit hole will now and shall forever remain my exit hole. Never my entry hole. No matter how much Ben tries to goad me to the bedroom. No lubricants were involved during the making of this film. So, with that in mind, obviously you've done a lot of internal reflection over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just in 2024, but probably from this time in 2023. We've talked about it a lot. Mm-hmm. For those of you, obviously you wouldn't know this, but behind the scenes, me and Ben talk all the time.
All the time.
And we've been friends a long time. Mm-hmm. According to Facebook, 14 years apparently, but it's actually I think it's probably a little bit longer than that, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
But we often talk about Ben especially addresses the fact that sometimes all we talk about is the podcast now.
Yeah.
Rather than what's going on in life. And I joke with him and I joke with other people that sometimes I know if I'm getting text twice in a row, I know it's Ben, I'll just go, fuck off, Ben, out loud. And it's become a long running joke in our circle of friends. But it's just a case of that, we certainly get wrapped up in the podcast life. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things we've talked about over the last 12 months, introspective for you, certainly, as a visionary, as a leader, what your approach is, what you want to do, how you want to improve.
Yeah.
I would say this year more than others has probably been more of a learning curve for you about how you drive and how you steer the ship. What would you say you've learnt about yourself as a person and personality, and where you see gaps in your not so much your personality, but gaps in your ability to form a leadership consensus as a result of that? What do you think you've learnt in the last 12 months?
So my entire life has been very structured. I've lived a bit of a sheltered life, if I'm being completely candid, and I've always excelled at deadlines and structure and beginning, middle, end, trying to see something through the whole process. Not everything in life has to have a deadline. So just let people do stuff and put your trust in them to do the stuff, and let them message me rather than me chase them. That being said, if I trust you to do something and I give you 3 weeks and in 2.5 weeks I don't hear anything from you, in my head, and I don't think this can change, I think I'm stuck. I don't think anything's happened. And that is unfortunately the way I work, because I am very, very communicative and I like to let people know how far along I am with certain things.
Well, I think that's a fair estimation. I mean, communicative is one way of putting it. Not tactful with communicative, I would say that. Ben finds it very, very difficult behind closed doors of seeing the emotion in what he's saying and how it can be conveyed.
Yeah.
Should we say?
Yeah.
In my normal everyday life, I run teams. I basically run a business day to day in the technology space, and I see all sides of the coin: pre-sales, post-sales, support, project management. When the shit hits the fan, I know how to handle all of these situations, how to work with tight deadlines. But my strong suit has never been organisation. I'm not very well, I'm deadline oriented to a degree, but I'm not detail driven. I'm not organisational at all. Ben is very organised. He's also very detail driven and very process driven. You are what we would be referred to in the Carl Jung principles as a very blue person, an analytical thinker. That's not me at all. I'm a lot more calmer than Ben because I've seen everything that could go wrong in business and everything that can go right. So I'll say to him quite regularly, I'm talking to you like you're not here, but
no, it's fine.
I'd say to you quite regularly about the fact that sometimes you need to calm down and trust the process. If we define a process, we go with it. So to give you guys an idea, when we made the decision to go bi-weekly, we've run through some editor transition. Yeah, it's fair to say, but with Marty, who's our primary editor, he's still our primary editor now, but he's had some stuff going on. Yeah. We made the conscious decision of what we would do as our structure would be. If Ben recorded on a Monday, that would go to Marty on the Monday. By, say, the Thursday, Marty would have a primary edit done. That would come to me. Say if we're working in a week, this is obviously Ben, this might we stretch this now over to. Yeah. But Marty would pass the primary edit over to me on the Thursday. I would review that, tweak anything that needs to be tweaked, mix the audio and then resequence. Apply only the pre-configured portion, so your intros, your advertorials to go inside the episode, sequence the parts, make sure everything's smooth and seamless and transitions each segment appropriately. That will then go to upload on either Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon onto YouTube, just because the sheer size of these things, it could take quite a long time to upload them. Ben would then get notified of that, so either Saturday evening or Sunday morning he'd be able to go in, put the description in, put the titles in, however he wants it to be perceived, ready for 6 o'clock on a Sunday. Because 6 o'clock on a Sunday, if you guys aren't aware, it was always is the sweet spot of where we want the videos to be. Now, it's great when that process goes through, and I do understand where you're coming from. It's the panic when you're not sure if it's being met. I'm not a believer in micromanagement. I'm a big lover of macro management. That if you set particular segmented deadlines of people that will be consistent, you get the right people with the right skills to put them in those roles and let them go. They're either going to be successful in their own right or they're going to fail at their own feet. So if someone misses a deadline, that affects the domino flow, workflow for everybody else. Then we can isolate what the root cause problem is. For Ben, because Ben looks at the start and the end, very much you have a fixation, I'd say, on this is where we've begun, this is where we need to be. Yeah. And sometimes the middle doesn't fade out of your mind, but it blurs somewhat.
Less important, I think.
I quite happily will see it segmented. Yeah. Now, I do understand, though, for the communication point, why you would get stressed, because I've always said the same thing. Let us know when you've hit those milestones, when you're coming up to those milestones. Yeah. If you're not going to be able to hit those milestones, give us plenty of time to adapt and overcome that. Because if, for example, the editing process couldn't get done for Thursday, and it's going to take an extra couple of days, there's no harm in us reassessing the deadline. We've done this a few times with episodes.
100%.
We'll upload to Thursday, and that allow that extra 4-day buffer period, that window, to be conservative, which will allow that bit more breathing room for the individuals involved. Because being a 3-man team, it's not straightforward always to get everything out timely. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of our own time. And bear in mind that the average video, if you guys aren't aware, it's going to expose some editorial stuff here. The average podcast episode, even like ours, which isn't done live, is done remotely. You're still looking at the editing process taking somewhere between 10 and 15 hours per episode. Bearing in mind that Ben will throw me and Marty a bone with that. I mean, I wouldn't say you pay us, but I wouldn't say you're paying us like a wage. Realistically,
No,
you're paying us a token amount because we're putting the effort in for you.
Yeah.
Ben's the only one, obviously, that pays out for this. Our sponsors, obviously, we have got some great sponsors to help us in different ways, shape, and forms. Christ, GOAT in the last 18 months has definitely, fueled our ability to keep going on late nights a lot.
Yeah, I don't even know how many cans they've sent us now. It must be between 500 and 600.
Easily. I mean, Colette and Andy are amazing, have been amazing. And if you haven't seen that episode, we implore you to go back and watch Ben's interview with Colette and Andy.
Yeah.
Incredible people, incredible story.
Yeah.
But, we take our own time out. We don't get paid thousands of pounds to do this. We do this off our own back. For me, I mean, obviously anyone who knows me or has seen me on episodes before or knows me from a previous life where I was on stage, I'm an actual entertainer, but I quite like this being behind the camera the other way and controlling the content. Because if you're not aware how the role split is here, Ben is the face. Ben chases out the talent that we're going to have on the show.
Yeah.
Ben structures the interview and what he wants to say. I'll scrutinise that with him to make sure that we're targeting things the right way. But from a creative standpoint, how the podcast looks, how it feels, the creative thematic direction of it, I have final say on that. And I've always had final say on that. Marty is the creative brain, I'd say now, in terms of thematically how we're working. But I've always been the one to say, no, this isn't right. If it's not right, I will turn around and say and scrap things. We have scrapped whole episodes before when they've not looked good enough.
Yeah. And I'm the person that then has to go back to the guest and say, I'm really sorry, but can we get you back on in a couple of months? And there's a lot that goes on in my world that I think you and Marty don't see, which is the Instagram posts, the tweets, the reposting of stuff, people following me back. It all sounds really mean, like stupid, minor, small things. But small things add up to big things. And my Google Keep is just this ever-growing list of guests.
I suppose it's the way you look at it is the difference between pre-sales and operations. Because effectively what you're performing there is a network marketing kind of role. And it's almost pre-sale, if you will.
Yeah.
But you're trying to build a network of individuals, sell them on the concept of joining us on podcasts, how I can boost their profile while boosting ours.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of pressure in pre-sale. There really is, in pre-production, because you've got to draw the talent in and give them a USP as to why they should come on here and what they're going to gain out of doing this, if anything at all. My focus, and this is, sometimes I do downplay the social media side of it, even though I do appreciate, the benefit of it, I do downplay it because I'm so fixated myself on the operational side. How can we make sure everything's ticking over? Yeah. How can we make sure everything is pushing the brand and what's marketing the brand as opposed to getting the talent in there in the first place that is going to ultimately extenuate market the brand.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit there's plenty of times I said to Ben when he goes, oh, can you like an Instagram post? I say, fuck off, Ben, it's not important. It's the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a lack of appreciation, but when you're not in the thick of it, it's hard to see, exactly as I say, hard to see the wood through the trees.
I think there's a level of autonomy with me where I will just do stuff now without even realising. I'm in autopilot. When I put an Instagram post up, one of the first things I do is go on my other Instagram account and then like the photo. And I think most creators at our level, and potentially even beyond, can relate to that.
Most businesses do things of that nature.
Bands do that on Facebook. Each individual member of the band will like the post from,
It's a real commonplace practice with small enterprises where they'll make accounts or use personal accounts in different names, or family members use personal accounts to do things like Google reviews to boost SEO.
Yeah.
So it's a really commonplace practice that a lot of businesses and small scale networks will do.
Yeah, definitely.
I think because it is a machine, even though obviously we're talking small scale, we've got three predominant cogs in this machine. We do sometimes lose sight of what the others are getting up to.
Yeah.
I think you panic more on a communicative level because, I've said this to you before, there is an element of you that wants not wants to micromanage, but wants control.
Yeah.
Wants to know what's going on every day, every minute of every day with it.
Yeah.
And wants it to be a priority because, of course, ABP in your life is your priority.
Yeah.
Even if you take your 9-to-5 situation out of the equation, because that's obviously not for podcast conversations, but even take that out of the equation, is a huge part of your life and a huge focus of your life. It takes up a huge portion of your life, so it's a priority to you. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably the person with it next most important to, and it's a priority to me.
Yeah.
But because my working schedule is just so different, probably to anybody that you know, and anybody I know working wise, I work so many hours, and I'm so drawn into every element of the business that I'm in, that it just falls down the pecking order for me. And it's a juxtapose, guys, really, because you have different people have different things going on in their lives. I mean, I'm an idiot, for want of a better word. Every time I've been on the podcast, I've been on any content we've done, I come across as a very reckless, very crazy guy.
I don't think you're doing the Grim Reaper episode.
No, that's not too bad.
Because there's a bit more of a focus as to what we're doing in that one. Whereas this is just free-flowing conversation.
What people don't realise, I'm willing to peel the curtain back for this episode because they're going to be gone for a while. What people don't realise is with me is I've got so much in my life that I have to be serious about.
Yeah.
I'm 10 to 15 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. I have to be dedicated, serious, and hyper professional in my working life. Obviously, I'm a single dad and have my kids 4.5, 5 days of the week on my own. I don't get any help from anybody on that, so I do that solo. And Ben gets frustrated but understands. He knows how to go about it because I will just go off grid for 5 days.
Yeah.
Because I'm just solely focused on my children. My son's autistic. I'm diagnosed, but it's quite evident. So, and he has a lot of issues in school. So that takes up a huge proportion of my time. I very seldom leave my house as a result of that because I never have a weekend. My kids are always here Thursday through Monday. So I never really leave the house very often, apart from to do things with the kids. So Ben likes to make a point of, even if we're not recording on a Monday, trying to come over and trying to get me out the house to do something because he knows that I'm so dedicated to all the things I'm serious about in life. I don't always let my hair down. So when you've seen me on content before, we see us do different things, sometimes I could be a little bit out there. There's content we haven't been able to put up because sometimes I can go a bit too out there because effectively I'm playing a character in different scenarios. I want to be controversial. I want to push the needle a little bit to get people like yourselves, however many of you are watching this, engaged in what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to do. That's the aim. The more the engagement from you guys comes up and the people that you know and the people you tell, the more it makes us motivated.
Yeah.
Now don't get us wrong. We're not, from my perspective, I realise we're meant to be interviewing here, you Ben here, but I'm talking loads. From my perspective, we're not taking this hiatus because we don't love doing ABP or enjoy doing the podcast or the work that goes in on it. We're taking this hiatus because the energy at the moment isn't there.
Yeah.
It's feeling more like a burden.
It feels more like work.
Yeah, exactly that.
Than it should.
It's affecting our friendship.
Yeah.
I mean, completely different ends of the spectrum, and no controversy involved. But it's a little bit like Brian and Lawrence, so True Geordie and Lawrence McKenna. We don't want to end up where this is such a burden that it fragments our friendship. Yeah, that's not what. Nothing is worth losing the friend over, no matter how passionate you are about it. So taking a break for a while makes sense. I mean, I'm to be quite candid. When Ben first said to me about being frustrated and need to take a break, I told him to stop being a little bitch. I said, why are you crying over it? You're stressed about nothing. You should sleep on it.
I think, as well, one of my strengths is I tell you and Marty both at the same time through the group chat on WhatsApp. And I think you could probably hear in my voice on that day, I think it was potentially the beginning of July.
Yeah.
I couldn't even really talk. Because I couldn't get any joy out of doing anything other than just existing for a bit. And I think that's anxiety. That's potentially things not moving as fast as I hoped. And I think something, just to tail this off and then I'll let you go back, is in production, and I know we're not in production really, but in car manufacturing, you can only go as fast as the slowest thing. So I can pump out content so quickly. I can record with hundreds of guests. I can do 60 ABP rambles. I can do reviews with my kid. I can do all sorts of shit. But if I don't have an editor or a sequencer or a creative person to help me with that content, then it kind of feels like I'm shouting into the Eurotunnel.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a team effort, because I do thrive off collaboration. And the last thing I'll say is there's been a few times where you have specifically said to me through voice notes, I'll get that sorted, no worries. And then nothing happens. And it's radio silence. And then naturally I'm going to ask you what the update on that is. And I already kind of know what the update is, because you've been busy, you've been blowing off steam, you've been with your kids, you've been going out getting sunburnt, you've been doing X and Y, and I don't want to come to your house and
we'll use the current conversation, the current theme of that, because there's one thing currently you're getting at with that. Two things, actually. So by the time this goes up, both of those things will probably have happened already. So we're talking North Muse, we're talking Wolf.
Yeah.
So the Wolf thing, what Ben doesn't. This is so to give you put this in retrospect. Ben's fully aware of what I'm about to say anyway, because we've had this conversation. We found the solution already. So when you're in any kind of business, including a media company like ours, you have to be an effective leader. You have to appreciate every element of every role. You have to be able to do everything to an extent, to be able to understand and appreciate the work levels, the timescales, and the challenges that come with that. Ben's absolutely right. He could pump out content to the cows come home. As creative as he could be in that moment to have a topic conversation to build content for. But the content's only the tip of the iceberg. That's what everyone sees at the end of it, the foundation. But the editing process, smoothing those rough edges, making it sound incredible, look incredible, making it look worthy to go up online, and all the work that goes into that is no mean feat. For a lot of people who have never recorded anything and never published anything online in a media format, you'll have no idea the lengths you have to go to behind the camera. Not just like we are now in terms of lighting rigs and camera position or anything like that, or choosing the right room and choosing the right backdrops or all this kind of shit. Not talk about that kind of stuff. That is an element to it. But actually sitting there at the desk, listening to a podcast over and over and over again, going back to 10 seconds, and listening to 10 seconds over and over and over again, getting the exact cut points, getting the exact EQ balance on a track, getting the exact fade in, fade out moments between different elements, getting the graphic points to work exactly right, springing up the name bars for Marty exactly the right time, building an intro video that moves, because a lot of times you'll see we'll do intro videos for bands when we have bands on, and a lot of time you'll think, oh well, that looks really polished, maybe you've just taken it from a track they had on YouTube. And for a certain editor, who I won't name names, that's pretty much all they fucking did. While Marty was out of action, we had someone else, and I'm not trying to bash anyone, but you're shit, and you know you are.
Yeah, he wasn't great.
But when Marty was doing an intro video, he was taking segments of videos for a band, or a video, cutting it up to in a way that works to hit works, changing the angles that are given, zooming in, panning out, moving things over, making it more graphically and aesthetically interesting. There is a lot of work that goes into it. To give you an idea, right, and I've talked a bit about this with the adverts is a really good example.
Yeah.
To make a 90-second to 2-minute video, it takes roughly 3 hours. For a 3-minute video, so you're talking, right, for every minute that you work on, it's an hour of post-production.
Yeah.
So every time you do a ramble for 10 minutes, you can make an argument that could be 10 hours. It's not, because ultimately there doesn't need that much of a camera angle panning. For a ramble, you're probably talking about, realistically, somewhere in the region of 3.5 to 4 hours on a polishing deck.
Yeah.
But even so, if we went back to your analogy, you've done 60 rambles. That 60 rambles could take 6,000 hours potentially to get through, the way through. So it's that appreciation, and this is why we have the timescales and the deadlines that we do. This is why we went bi-weekly, because there is a hell of a lot that goes in. To give you guys an idea, when it was just me and Ben, going back now probably 2 years ago, I'd say, and we had Generation 1 ABP with the microphone logo, before we had the brand and the marketing that we spent a hell of a long time working on.
Just audio, or is this transitioning
when we first made the first
YouTube?
foray into YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
It probably was half the time because we didn't have half the equipment or half the experience.
Yeah.
I was a self-taught editor, passionate to try and be better, and we worked on a lot of things and became creatively apt. Marty's a lot more skilled than I am in the editing floor. I've got a really good eye for vision and what works and what doesn't. But the actual meat on the bones, the man's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will give credit where credit's due right now, right we're here. Especially while we're going to haters, because he just, God deserves his flowers. To Paul, we begged him to come back when he.
Well, it's nice to meet him as well.
Yeah.
Like in the real world, physically able to touch him and flex his massive muscles.
Oh God, he's got some fucking arms on him, that boy.
But yeah, YouTube's a weird one because it seems to favour weekly to free daily uploads. As in every 3 days, not free daily uploads. That's insane. But YouTube's a whole new game. Spotify doesn't really care how many times you upload. I don't think there's an algorithmic drive or an incentive to do that. YouTube is all about algorithm. And that's why we included the reviews, the reactions. We haven't even mentioned reactions. It's a whole treadmill of stuff. And, if you look at the channel from 2 years ago, I reckon we've uploaded potentially 250 videos in total.
Oh yeah, easily. And I think that's the thing with YouTube. And YouTube was very much I drove you towards that. Yeah, you
championed that motive to.
And I was right.
Yeah,
absolutely right. I mean, we've seen them in the last 18 months. We have doubled our subscribership, which is really, really impressive. I mean, for you guys that you don't know, our view count and our hour count watched is massive, actually.
Yeah.
Across the board, across all of our content, we have got very large view counts, very large hour counts, and minutes watched. We would love to convert more, so any of you watching who haven't liked to subscribe, even though we're going on a hiatus, it doesn't mean there's not going to be content on the channel, it just means there's not going to be long form content.
There's also a ton of backlog, catalogue.
There's shit tons of stuff that's worth watching.
Yeah.
But we need people to like and subscribe. The more you like, the more you subscribe, the more it triggers the algorithm, the more we can gain from YouTube as a partner potentially, and the more we can do. The problem is, if you don't do that, it's kind of crestfallen for us.
Yeah.
There has been things that we have done, and we've talked about it personally, where we've put our hearts and souls into content, and it's not driven anywhere near as much as we thought it would.
No.
And then there's things like we do a reaction to Big Green, which was my idea as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Big Green dub for Dragon Ball, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
And fucking 400-500 people watch it.
Without any promotion.
Yeah, no driving that at all.
The title and the thumbnail was enough for that to just go.
Well, I think it's a labour of love. I mean, we want critical acclaim. Don't get me wrong. We want the kudos that comes with churning out content that gets the masses interested. We're not trying to be Mr. Beast. We're not trying to put whatever's going to get people to clickbait like our shit and trick people into watching all our content, watching our hours, or trick kids into that shit. We've got no interest. It's not for kids.
Yeah.
But we want that critical acclaim, but we do need you to be supportive of it. If you're not supporting the content, we're going to get to a point where we're going to be like, well, what's the fucking point? And that's not what this is about.
Yeah, it doesn't mean go off and look at the description and buy every single sponsor's product. It just means share it on your social media, tell a friend about it, clip it and put it on TikTok. I don't know what fucking people do with it, but
worth a take.
That seems to be the way that stuff grows and snowballs. And there's people out there like Andrew Tate, for example. He doesn't even have TikTok and he's all over it. That's because someone's decided that's
university, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe actually.
I think that's what they do.
I think side.
You heard it here first.
Get a lot
they
of that.
Basically tell you to cut out clickbait controversial things of Andrew Tate, and they put that all over the internet, and that'll get you views because Andrew Tate generates views. Hustlers University.
Yeah.
Get a high view count on your channel, monetize it.
Yeah.
Revenue return.
But it would be cool to get a community, because one of my ridiculous ambition live goals things is to do a live show. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
But currently, mate, there's probably 3 of us going to be there. And, we've got some friends on the channel, like Blue Van Man. We've got Ross Mullen from Game of Thrones. We've got MC Lars. I know I mention him a lot, but I quite like him.
Angry Bootneck, Van Man Talks,
Angry
Big Lovers,
Van
Steve.
Man Talks. I'm going to meet up with Van Man Talks at some point
Nick
in the future.
Dunn. I mean, if you don't remember Nick Dunn was, locked in, a prison against his will for no fault of his own for fucking ages. He's got an incredible book, Surviving Hell. I'm just going to go back to Surviving Hell because actually it is an incredible book.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're friends, actively friends with these people after interviewing them to this day.
They've kept in touch. They've given me their number.
Amazing people.
Yeah.
There's waiting to be discovered by people like you.
Yeah.
And if you don't go back and embrace that content, you're gonna fucking miss out on some amazing people with some amazing stories. Really are.
It could potentially be the first time you see them as well, and then they'll go off and do other stuff. Like Nick Dunn was on Sean Atwood's podcast, which is mental. But yeah, I just want it to I don't want it to grow stale. I just want it to keep. Like, we've had discussions in the past of what kind of guests we get, and I think that's definitely worth addressing if we come back to this in, say, November or December.
I suppose it's an apt. I mean, I won't ask too many more questions.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of our time, and I know we've got some fan questions to answer. But that raises a good question. What do you want ABP to be? I'm not talking about who would you like to have on.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what content you want to create. I'm not talking just about long form versus short form content.
Yeah.
What do you actually want ABP to be?
I don't really know, and that's a bit of a weird reason to start a YouTube channel in the first place, but I've always just enjoyed making films and just having fun and looking at it back from an archival perspective, that it's like a frozen in time bit of media.
Let me rephrase that, reword that. I'm going to take a Simon Sinek approach.
Yeah.
This is a two-part question. When you started doing this, what was your why? Mm-hmm. And what is your why now?
My initial start for the podcast specifically, because that's all this was at the start and then it grew, was to keep in touch with people during COVID. That was all it was.
Well, I know enough to think about that because I did the same thing.
School reunion, I wanted to have like a virtual catch-up with friends, people like Ross Broughton South, people that I went to school with. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. Luke Roper, Rambo, Halsall, who never got back to me. Yourself, Jim, Andy, Sam, who is in a very recent episode if you want to have a look. And I realised that musicians weren't able to play live. So I thought, right, now was my chance to get the musicians that I've always wanted to interview, because I just love interviewing people. And if you look at my personal YouTube channel, we interview John's old band and Cora Vio. And I've just always been interested in music and the function and the wheel and that industry, and it kind of translated into interviewing people in the back of my car. And yeah,
no lubricants are used during the course of those interviews in the back of Ben's car.
Yeah.
Okay. Strictly clean.
It was just meant to be a laugh, and I want to get better as an interviewer. That's something that I'm quite proud of, and I think that's a good catalyst. But why? I think I see people like Sean Evans just killing it all day, and I'm a bit jealous, but I know comparison is the thief of joy. But you got people like Joe Rogan. He can literally get whoever he wants on his podcast at the drop of a hat. But I just wanted to kind of create my own little area of the internet. I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan, I'm not trying to be Russell Brand, but I just want to have a go at it, really, and to see how far I can get.
So your why at the moment, you would say, is you want to drive to see how far you can push the envelope. Really,
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, going back to a point you made, Danny, you were saying about the type of content. You actively mentioned something that irks me, because this is where we do butt heads, and you mentioned this earlier on. The type of guests we have on, the type of content we produce.
Yeah.
See, you guys could probably imagine, I know the statistics behind the podcast. I know where our demographic is. I know what type of people are watching us. I know that for the majority of you there in YouTube land, you're 18 to 35 males. I know that is principally the core demographic of who we talk to. Me and Ben butt heads on this a lot, because it's very easy. See this, obviously, we're both coming at it from a creative perspective, but Ben, being the interviewer, is coming from a position of what gives him the most enjoyment as a creator as well. Ben loves music. Ben loves musicians. Billy Sheehan is a good example of that. Tell me you're a bass player without telling me you're a fucking bass player. You get Billy Sheehan on and rave about it for fucking hours.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that our content needs to be varied. And I tell you what, this is the interactive portion of this episode. I know we're going on a hiatus, but guys, I'd love to hear this from you.
It'd be nice to come back to the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of content would you like to see us create? I like the idea of us getting sports personalities on. Boxers, MMA fighters, footballers, rugby players. I'd really like to get their story. I'd like to get, we dabbled in the idea of politics, people with political views. I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
Certainly comedians, we know we're both in agreement that would be a good sphere to go into.
Definitely.
A lot of people get porn stars on. I don't know if that's exactly where we'd go with that. I'd be interested to get maybe retired porn stars as he did the good, the bad and ugly of their experience they're doing for the entire journey. I think that'd be quite interesting. Maybe some lesser known names and some larger names with that. People who've had a lot to say, both positive and negative, about the industry. But I think we'd both be quite keen to hear from you guys. What, not necessarily specific guests, but what kind of content you'd like us to produce. Whether that's a podcast, whether that's a ramble, whether that's live on the doorstep with someone, whether that's a walk in the park. What would you like to see us do next? And it doesn't have to be something crazily outlandish or very expensive. It could be as simple as, we want to see Ben walking in the forest, chatting to Casper, about anything and everything. Because we know Casper's popular on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, didn't the third wheel on the screen?
Still the strongest performing audio episode ever, which is insane.
I just remember his interview of my inanimate garden tools.
Shears. Yeah.
His chat with my shears or your house.
See, why did that do so well? It really is a dice roll, and a lot of my fulfillment and my satisfaction come from that dice roll, which is not a good way to live your life. If something gets 6,000 views, naturally you're like, oh well, I'll just keep doing that. But it's not sustainable, and
it's no set formula with that, is there?
Like, the UK election episode did quite well, but that was quite time gated by nature.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
the thing
it's
is, we
like,
hit that
how do
time
I-
sensitivity.
Yeah.
But then, in contrast, when we decided we were going to do reactions, we want to do some serious reactions. But we did a Putin episode.
Yeah, that did alright.
It did okay. It didn't do what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah. I think the answer is to just not have any expectations.
Well, if you don't expect too much, you can't be disappointed, I
Yeah.
suppose. But you got to dream big,
Yeah,
and I think we've always strived to do that.
you got to make a bit of a ripple.
The way I look at it is, we're almost at 500 subs.
Yeah.
That's halfway to where we wanted to get to, and that's from fucking nothing. Look at the size of that bastard.
Yeah. And I think we're encroaching on 30,000 views. As a
Yeah,
whole channel,
we're definitely thereabouts.
which is public information, and it's on the YouTube channel, and that's just the YouTube channel. That's not Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff that I can't log into anymore. We won't get into that. But
We're just fucking two blokes at the end of the day on the south coast of England who knew each other from playing in bands together and stayed in contact, have always been pretty tight
yeah,
for the word go, and have somehow managed to keep something going creatively. And we would encourage anyone to do this.
yeah,
Everyone finds their position, don't they? It's like when you said about the pandemic, I had my podcast then going at the same time. And I found myself pretty early on thinking to myself, I'm not enjoying doing the interviewing.
yeah.
I'm enjoying doing the editing, and we kind of found each other that way. I mean, Christ,
Yeah.
the whole branding of ABP. I don't want to blow my own trumpet. Probably the biggest thing I've brought to the table
Yeah.
is our entire market presence, thematically, our
It's
brand
big.
awareness,
Where is
everything.
it? There he is. B.
That's all me. I designed everything: the logos, the colour thematics, the Bedlam B and Horrible Cunt Hornet. All J business over here. They are all business creations.
And I've been quite lucky where I've come round before, and watching you work is quite a force of nature. When you're in that mindset and you want to create like a watermark or a logo or a thumbnail, I couldn't interrupt you if I wanted to.
When I get
Because
excited,
you are
it's like,
so laser focused.
when I get
And
excited
you'll
about a
waste
project,
2 hours on resolution and scaling and
it's like a lightning strike to the tip of your pins.
yeah.
You know, it's like it's a level of excitement I can't describe.
Yeah.
When I get an idea in my head and I can visualise something that I know is going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it does get the juices flowing. I mean, we started really with the marketing, the branding of ABP.
Yeah.
It started with the lettering, and you remember I went back and forth with you for about 4 months. What do you think of this? No. What do you think of that? No. And I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
And I think we settled on this letter, and I came to you and said, Ben, this is how it should look. And it wasn't even me asking a question. When I just knew. And you said, I fucking love that. And I always know, when Ben just goes, I fucking love that, I've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And it's very seldom been times recently when it hasn't been the case. When we did the thumbnails and the intro video for Wheaters, you know, we loved that. All the old thumbs we used to do for the episodes as well back in the day. You were always on top of that. And we chefed to excellence. I still go back to that and think that was fucking absolute banger.
So trailers, we've only ever done 2, which was Steve Nichols, and the one that you've just mentioned has completely left my head.
Wheaters.
Yeah.
The Steve Nichols one, I'm incredibly proud of.
Yeah.
But some people would say, why would you take a remix of the Terminator 2 Judgment Day theme tune and apply that to a veteran story? And I think it's because it fucking works. This is a guy who went through hell and back. Nick's similar. Went through hell and back, came back to tell a story, not just for him, but for all those he'd lost and that we've lost along the way. And they're the people for me that made it all worth it. The Nicks, the Stees, Blue Van Man. You know, people don't realise this. The guy, he's a funny personality on YouTube, but he's gone through the mire and worked his arse off to get where he gets. And there's things that come with that. Yeah, the pressures that come with that. They're the driving force for me to want to keep doing this, because those people really work. Shay's another example.
Yeah.
Really grinding what she is. Andy and Colette, we've already mentioned for Goat, their story. Like for us, when we take a sponsor, work with a sponsor, we won't just work with anyone. You probably noticed that we've had pretty niche sponsors, and that's not because that's all we can get. Because trust me, there's been a lot of people that have been knocking at the door. For us, it's about the right partnerships, ethically, and the people. People by people, and we harp on about Goat a lot. The reason that we harp on about Goat a lot, guys, and you wonder why that is because we are fucking passionate about Goat. Really passionate about Goat.
It's a disruptive product.
It's not just that. It tastes fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It is different in the marketplace. It deserves more shelf space. And you know what? Even if the product, it's not. The product's incredible. But even if it was shit, Andy and Colette deserve the shelf space because their heart, their soul goes into everything they do. It really does.
Yeah, and the fact that they've turned nearly every hobby they have into a business shows their drive and their creative flair and their partnership, even literal partnership. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, all things considered. I just think sometimes we need to sit down and talk about things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I come to your house, you kind of...
Did you say old?
Yeah.
God, you're there, let's go!
Sometimes I don't come around yours for a month and you've got like a whole whiteboard of chaos.
Oh, there's never a
I
dull
have
moment
to
in John's
drag
life.
you out of your house and take you for a pint and let you decompress. But on the whole, I'm feeling pretty good. One thing that I don't feel great about is I don't really like the idea of using guests as a stepping stone. That used to be my way in. Like, if I get Theo Baker on the podcast from YouTube, he's a very popular football content creator, I could get Joe Weller. And if I get Joe Weller, I could get KSI. I don't care anymore. I really don't care. And that's not because I can't find their email addresses. It's just because I think it feels cheap.
Yeah, I'm really inclined to agree with you. There's a couple of people I would like to get on the podcast. Actually, for entirely unaltruistic reasons, together, because I feel like, and I've said it in the car to Ben, I've said it on voice notes to Blue Fan Man, and Dave, you know both these people as well. I've said it, countless times. I think I've said it on episodes. If I could get Lawrence McKenna and Brian Davies, I'm going to use True Geordie's real name, Brian Davies, round a camera with us now, I bang their fucking heads together to make more Lawrence than Brian, in my opinion, but to make them realise that some things are more important than brands. And some things are more important than money. And some things are more important than work. And some things are more important than reputation. friends come first. Loyalty is everything. And if I could bang their heads together and get them to see that, I would.
I think we disagree on a lot of things that we watch on YouTube.
Yeah, we
but
do.
the 3 things we do agree on is Hot Ones,
Yeah.
True Geordie,
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit of Blue Van Man. Now
We
and
love
then.
Dave. We both
We
love
do.
Dave.
And there's another YouTube guy that we watch, and I can't remember who it is now.
Obviously Finn Taylor.
Finn Taylor versus the Internet is great. There's that guy that you watch, Terry.
Oh, Terry Stone.
What's his podcast?
Oh, the Criminal
called?
Connection podcast.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know this, because this is just hit the demographic, but it's different to what we normally talk about. Terry Stone is an actor, but he wasn't always an actor. Terry Stone did United Nations club nights, and Ministry of Sound and things like that coming through the 90s. He was big in the rave scene. And he became an actor in late 90s, early 2000s. He was originally called Terry Turbo. If you've ever seen the Rise to Foot Soldier films, he's Tony Tucker in the Rise to Foot Soldier films franchise. I fucking love the guy, which is weird because I'm a huge Carlton Leach fan and they've fallen out because of Bernardo Mahoney. But Terry Stone is a fucking diamond. I've spoken to him personally on Twitter and Instagram.
He's followed you back.
He
on
followed me
Twitter.
back. He's a diamond. He's a salt of the earth bloke.
Yeah.
I love his interview style. He's always him. I don't know how he is with business behind closed doors, but I will say this. Not that Carlton Leach would be watching this, but it'd be awesome if he did. Carlton, I love you, but there are no friends in business. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but that's what it comes down to. But Terry Stone is a fantastic content creator. He crowdfunds all the movies that he makes. He gets people behind it. He finds investors to sponsor it. He does what we do on a much grander scale, but still for fucking nothing, just for network marketing.
Yeah.
The guy should be an inspiration to any independent content creator of any kind. And if you're not watching the Criminal Connection podcast, guys, you fucking should be, because it is amazing.
Yeah.
They've had some great guests on there. Some great guests.
Yeah.
And, down to the point is, Terry has been on EastEnders briefly. He was one of Andy Hunter's henchmen in Mid-Noughties. But when you bear in mind that he makes films with Craig Fairbrass, who has done Sullivan and EastEnders and been in loads of stuff. He was fucking in Cliffhanger, for fuck's sake. Craig Fairbrass was. Then you got Roland Munakian, who's in EastEnders now. Who's with Zebedee and Football Factory. You know, the 6 degrees of separation all the time.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, Terry Stone's amazing. We do agree on some things, but we've got different tastes.
Yeah.
And this is why I go back to our demo. Like, you're a lot more reserved in your taste, a lot more comedy driven.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously, if my idea of a good Friday night is getting to bed at 9:30 and watch as many British gangland movies as I physically fucking can. You know, if I could watch, Dave Courtney documentaries back to back, I fucking would. You know, I think it's just a case of it's the way we're driven. It does make you more of a man than you, or less of a man than me, or anything like that. It's personal preference. I like aggressive things because I'm quite an aggressive human being. That's how I go about my business.
Yeah.
You're a lot more reserved, but then you like more reserved things as a result of that.
I think sometimes my words can be a bit more striking as a result of that.
I think when you have something you could be negative anyway, but when you have something stern to say, it's stoic, it probably holds a little bit more resonance because it's rarer for you to be that way. Whereas people are used to me being very much, I'm going to put my fucking foot down, this is the way it is. I've never been afraid to say something, what I think, even if it offends someone. I don't give a shit.
You're also just quite verbose in life. You like to talk and get people on side, and you're quite sales driven, and you like
I'm naturally charismatic.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's good to have two personalities that are potentially polar opposites work together.
Yes.
You're never going to see a business that is 100% analytical blue people or whatever.
No, of course you don't. I mean, I think the thing is, from that perspective, those the contrast of positions, beliefs and backgrounds make for the best results. That's always been the case. You look at, great example, Dragon's Den, Peter Jones, Reggae Sauce.
Yeah.
Couldn't be further from each other background-wise. But how successful is that product by taking someone in a completely different space and meshing those two ideologies together?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best way to go. So all of you right-wing and all of you left-wing individuals out there, you can work together. There was a time where you could disagree with somebody and it didn't mean you fucking hated them.
Mad.
I think you've queued me up here perfectly, Ben, because we are now at just shy of 50 minutes into this episode now.
We'll never ever do a 20-minute podcast.
No, we aim for this to be 25 minutes, guys. It was never going to fucking happen.
So
I'm going to be interviewing Ben.
That's all right. We'll do another one at some point. The last question I've got for you, it's a bit tongue in cheek.
Go on.
Take it for as it is. When is a good time to message John Belfield?
There's never a good time.
And get a response.
So here's the deal with me, guys. And I'll tell you what, you're going to like... I think...
I got that written down.
Everybody watching this is going to come up for either going to be a Ben or be a John, right? Now, bear in mind that we're both in our mid-30s. We grew up in a generation before Facebook Messenger when you had to pay for text messages.
Yeah.
Okay? You had to pay for phone calls. Weirdly, before I met my ex-wife and before I got divorced, I was quite an avid texter. I think I preferred communicating that way. When I got separated, and probably for the last 5 or 6 years, so before I got separated, really don't like it. I cannot fucking stand it. I detest text messages. I don't want to talk to somebody on a text. Completely lose the energy, completely lose the moment. I hate it. Fucking hate it.
And you can't get any emotion out of just
writing
on a screen.
In my experience, right, and I felt this on both sides, people misinterpret the written words so fucking often. So often. It's caused detriment to me in platonic and non-platonic relationships all over the place. I am a much bigger fan of picking up the phone, calling me or video call me. And you saw it today. My best mate James sent me a message. He wants to ask me a question. I video call him. I'd rather see your face, see the whites of your eyes when I'm talking to you. That's the way I'm built.
There's also an element of focus.
Yeah.
Because if you're texting, you could be texting 6 other people.
I want you to know you've got my undivided attention. I've got yours. It's like I said to my kids. Don't look at the TV when you're talking to me. You look at me.
Yeah.
You know, I've earned that respect. Yeah. I don't like this world, this fucking, instant gratification world we live in. Give someone the time and your energy and your effort, and you'll get it returned to you tenfold. And I'm quite simple in that sense. So to answer your question, Ben, there is no good time to message me.
So, do you know when isn't a good time to message you?
Weekends.
Friday to Monday, Tuesday evenings, and Thursdays, just as a whole. And I think recently you sent me a voice note saying, do not message me before 10 a.m. on a Friday because I've got my school run, which is completely valid. But that gives me a very, very small window for me to just ask you how you are, because this isn't just ABP. This is literally me asking you if your tooth still ache.
Do you know what's interesting though?
Yeah.
I've never actually told you why that is. And it's not because you're texting me is the problem that you're trying to communicate with me. That's not the issue. It's because the way that society it works, the way that I'm wired, I want to see and I want to respond to you instantaneously. Every time you text me, my gut feel is I don't like to disappoint. And I'd like to communicate. I like conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to communicate with you straight away. Mm-hmm. And when I know that I'm so up against it that I can't, I get really frustrated. And it affects my mood. So when I'm walking to the school run, you text me, I won't just ignore the fact that my phone's just gone off. I will look at it, but I'm going to try to focus on 2 small people while I'm walking for 40 minutes.
Of course.
And in my back of my mind thinking, I've got to get back to bed. I wonder what he's saying. It's that Christmas Day syndrome.
Yeah.
You want to open the present. And when I open the message, it's like, oh mate, can't be fucked today. It's like, for fuck's sake. So I've been stressing for the last 10 minutes because I can't look at my phone because I'm crossing a million roads. And that's why. So it's a case of that. It's also that I don't like surprises.
Yeah.
So if you're a person who's ever been through any traumatic experiences in life, okay, and had the rug pulled from underneath you in any way, shape or form, be it in romantically in a relationship, being that you watch someone die, so you've lost someone you care about, whatever it may be. People like me have been through extreme trauma because I'm quite open about this. I suffer with CPTSD. I don't watch new programs or listen to new music because I don't like to not know the ending. I still to this day watch Friends repeats consistently. I watch Walking Dead over and over again. I watch things where I know what's going to happen. And because I know what's going to happen, I have some comfort in there and I still get the same serotonin and dopamine release for the result. I mean, Christ, for the last 2 weeks, I've been watching classic EastEnders from 2005, 2006. I saw them all when they came out new. But I still get the same buzz because I know what's going to happen, but I know I enjoyed it. There's no nasty surprises. Okay. I don't deal with surprises well. And to be fair, it's the last time for a long time I'm going to say this in the recording, so I might as well say it. When you find your wife's been having an affair with somebody who's a friend who works for you, and that's a pretty fucking big surprise you don't want. So yeah, that's my big dislike of surprises has come from really in the last few months. Don't get me wrong, I'm over my divorce, I'm over my separation, that's not an issue for me. But I like to use that as the example. And just while I've got the forum to do it, just want to make this clear to anybody out there who doesn't think this is a problem. If you were having an affair, or you were cheating, or you were talking to someone who is not your significant other because you're having problems, there is no justification for that. You're a cunt. There's no two ways. That makes you a cunt. If you're wondering if you are a cunt because you do those things, yes you are. You're a cunt. Talk to your partner, explain how you're feeling, find a resolution. No problem in this world ever got fixed without communication. Communicate with your partners. Don't go jump into bed with Joey Tosspot down the road just because he makes out he's got more money or makes out the grass is greener. Because trust me, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greenest where you water it. So I felt like I got off my chest one last time then.
I think that kind of tails back to communication.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
It does.
So, last question. I can't remember it.
If you wonder why I'm scratching a lot, guys, I'm sunburnt the fuck at the moment.
Yeah. Last question. We've got some questions, but that was it. The eventuality thing of you knowing that something has the same ending, watching it. Was there a point in your life where, obviously I know the answer to this, Friends, there was a point in your life where that was the first time you'd watched it? So to get to the ending of it, you had to delve into the unknown, if that makes sense? Do you not feel like that now? Where you watch Terminator because you've seen Terminator and you know how Terminator ends, but you had to watch it first to get to the end?
I think as a younger man, I was a lot more glass half full. A lot more optimistic about life and the possibilities of life in front of me, which made me a lot more fearless about the unknown. Like a case in point, I remember when I saw the last episode of Friends and Rachel got off the plane and Ross and Rachel ended up together. Remember how I felt when I first saw that, and the frantic feeling of I was very invested in his characters. I know it sounds sad, guys, but
not at all.
I was very invested in the characters, very invested in that story. Over a 10-year period, they finally get together, but you think they haven't. And I'm big on love stories. I know it sounds very unmanly, but I'm big on love. For somebody who's been jilted quite so as badly as I was, I still believe in that. Still firmly believe in that. When you get, it's not even just what happened with my divorce. Probably before that, actually. When you live a life, probably for 5 years, the last 5 years of my relationship with my ex-wife, when you were constantly sat there watching the world trying to chip away at what you got. Yeah, people are envious, people are jealous and want to break that, but people don't like people being successful and being happy. So they'll chip away at it. When you sit there almost helpless to stop this, stop people chipping away, when you consider yourself quite a strong man, quite an intimidating figure, you can influence people, and that's one of my key strengths. I'm very persuasive, I can be very influencing. When people are chipping away at what you've got constantly, and you can see it chipping away at something you've worked so hard to build, and as one half of that coin, the other half of the coin maybe isn't quite as resolute as you, the soul crushing, and it makes you question the world. I grew up on old school values that there's certain things you just don't do to people, and unfortunately, in the last, say, 7 or 8 years, I've seen the world I grew up in completely disappear. Where now people don't give a fuck about the rules of life. If a woman's married, you leave them be. If a man's married, you leave them be. If there's kids involved, you don't split up a family. If people break up themselves organically, fair enough. But if there's children involved, you don't split up a family. You don't come between friends. You don't pick women over your mates. You don't pick men over your mates. You defend and take up for your friends behind closed doors. You don't stab a friend in the back. You don't choose outsiders over your closest. All those core values and principles that society was built upon just seem to have gone by the wayside. And it's not feminism gone crazy, it's not wokeism gone crazy, it's not the left, it's not the right. It's just that people now, the core values and principles of life just seem to have dissipated.
They change based on what the narrative and based on what the reward system is on that occasion.
I think it's societal standards of what's acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone through therapy, so I know that, you know, no two people have the same set of core values. I understand that principally. But there's things in our world now that, whether you believe in everyone's right to live life how they wish to, and I do believe in that. Everyone's got the right to live life and believe things and act and live their life in any way, shape or form that they feel is right for them. However, I have an issue with anyone pushing their way of life on mass audience anywhere. And to make this clear, I'm not having a dig at transsexuals or drag queens or even Sam Smith, although I would like to. I'm talking about anything. Religious people forcing their religious beliefs on other people. That's not having to go at Muslims, that's Christians as well. Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, we all laugh about JWs knocking the door, but you know what you're going to get from them, at least they're consistent.
Yeah.
Religious people forcing their beliefs on you. Right-wing people forcing their beliefs on you. Left-wing people forcing their beliefs on you. Believe what you want to be. Live life how you want to live. Don't fucking judge anybody else for how they want to live their life. Just accept that people will live their lives the way they want. No, I will not just actively say your pronouns because you feel offended if I don't. But if you come up to me and say, excuse me, John, on a personal one-to-one level, say, I don't appreciate you, could you please address me this way? I'll respect that because you approached me in a respectful manner. It comes down to one thing, and one thing only. And we all were brought up to believe this. And I can't believe people don't. And this is what's missing from the world. Treat people how you'd like to be treated. It's very simple. I wouldn't like someone to ram their belief system down my throat. So I don't ram my belief system down somebody else's. It's as simple as that. A lot of people who feel they've been marginalised over the last 50 years don't realise they're doing this now. But because of how much pain they've experienced through that marginalisation, ironically they're marginalising people now themselves. People that actually don't deserve it. The people that a lot of the left wing and the right wing, actually for that matter, take umbrage with and have issues with, aren't even alive anymore, or aren't even in positions of authority anymore. You know, you're judging the world by older generations and older generational perspectives, and it's just fucking ridiculous. We all need to wake up, really, and realise that I don't give a fuck if you're gay, straight, black, white, you know, identify as a woman or identify as an inanimate carbon rod. I couldn't give a fuck what you identify as. That's your preference.
Yeah.
My preference is I am a straight white male, and I believe in traditional values, and that's how I choose to live my life to an extent. But I don't go announce it because I don't need to. You know, making a song and dance about an issue doesn't resolve an issue. Equality isn't highlighting one thing over another thing. It isn't having a Pride Month. That's not equality. If having a Pride Month was the way in which we deal with issues and make things equal, we'd have a straight month, we'd have a trans month, we'd have a hermaphrodite month, we'd have a woman's month, we'd have a man's month. All of these fucking stupid bastard concepts, that is not promoting equality. You are segregating people. What we are doing now is not forming equality, it's called forming segregation. Everyone's so blinded by the chess piece movers, the people moving playing the pawns on the chessboard, that none of you can see it. That's not equality. Drop the bullshit, drop the pretension. It doesn't matter what you are or what you believe. All that matters is we are one people, and we should all be able to get along and respect everyone as we would like to be respected. That's the only principle that really counts.
Just to add a bit of comedic flair to that, because that was quite long.
I can't even remember what the question was now.
I'll go back to that. For Man's Month, can we have James Brown? This is a man's month!
I look good! I smell good!
That one did well.
Oh yeah, everyone loves a bit of James Brown.
Go check that one out. We did a James Brown reaction, and Eddie Murphy did a funny accent.
Oh, we did the Eddie Murphy impressions.
Yeah. So the question I asked you was, when you have a similarity and a comfort in watching something like Terminator or EastEnders or whatever, you then watch it again because you know the end. What I'm getting from that response is you liked the way it made you feel the first time you watched it.
I think it's because it's comforting that I came through it and the surprise wasn't big enough to affect me in a negative way.
Yeah.
I think the issue is with a lot of things, modern things now that I've seen or I've experienced. I'm not overwhelmed with a feeling of surprise is going to be a positive one.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the way, unfortunately, the way I view the world now. And I think that's because of the experience I've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And the honest truth is, I went from being incredible, you've known me a long time, I went from being a very charismatic, positive, confident person to being someone who's become very, very good at putting masks up of pretending to be the person they were without really being it. 3 years on from my separation, I don't know who the fuck I am. Not really. Still trying to find him. I'm getting there. I know parts of me, but I don't really know me. I choose to be single entirely on my own. But don't get me wrong, I've had my opportunities, fair share, but I think it's fair to say. But I choose to be single because I don't want to draw anyone else into my head fuck. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't always have the confidence, and I don't always have the self-belief, and I don't always have the charisma, and I don't always have the things that I think bring me to the dance, that I know bring me to the dance when I'm all together. And unfortunately, that's just because the world, it's not my ex-wife, it's not even, my ex-friend, ex-subordinate. It's the world that's made me feel this way. I'm forever seeing people that I know and people that I don't, doing horrendous things and justifying their actions like it's fine, when it's not fine. It's not okay to fuck it. There's out some people, not named, but there's out some people. It's not okay to exploit your mentally ill parents for disability money, and then when they die, play the doting daughter. That's not okay. It's not okay to dismiss your husband, your children, your family to run off a man because he appears to have more money, and then lie about the fact that you fall in love with someone and really it's about the money. It's not okay to lie about that. It's not okay to not take accountability for your actions when you've done something wrong. And I'm not trying to have a go at women, but predominantly women in my experience have an inability to take accountability, and I think that's mainly because male society doesn't hold women to account. We never have. That's on us. It's not on you, ladies. That's on us, okay? And likewise, it's not okay to go around sleeping with people's wives, making out you're a player, but then in the same breath turn around to a woman who sleeps with people's husbands and call them a slag. Yeah. That's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to have double standards. It's not okay to treat people like shit. It's not okay to think that you can treat people like they're disposable. It's not okay. Everybody's got value. They might not have value to you, but they're value to someone else. So do you know what? If they don't have value to you, leave them the fuck alone. Yeah. If you're not going to be in it for the long haul, if you're not serious about somebody, if you don't care about somebody, if you don't value somebody, I'll tell you what, leave them to someone who is going to value them. Because you're wasting everybody's fucking time, including yours. Don't waste people's time. It's not cool.
Yeah, fair play, well said. I think something that we should address before we do the fan questions, I will get to them, this feels like this never-ending thing, is... Going back to ABP, are you currently happy with the way things are? And do you think there's more we could do? Or do you think we're kind of at capacity? This is coming from someone who's burnt out. I think we need to stick at what we're currently doing and make it better.
Shouldn't have told my answer before you ask me a question. Shouldn't answer for me. But
okay. No, I'm just saying what my perspective is. Because obviously, like we mentioned earlier, we're both different people. We both have different thoughts and personalities.
Interesting question. Fuck off, dog.
Come in.
Sorry, guys, my dog is a massive dickhead.
Sit
and
down.
he will pull all the cables over.
Sit down. Carry on.
So, it's an interesting question. Probably edit Boise being a douchebag. Probably won't.
So true.
My dog's a pain in the arse. I love him, but he's a pain in the arse.
He just stares.
So, it's an interesting question. There's a few things to dissect there. Am I happy about the direction that ABP is going in? No. Are there things I think we could do better? Yes. Am I entirely miserable or dissatisfied with it? No. Am I as burnt out as you? Probably not. I think it's because I can see the wood through the trees a little bit more. Just because, I'm used to these kind of situations occurring. And I'm a problem solver by nature.
Yeah.
So, Am I happy? No. The reason that I'm not happy is I think we need to broaden horizons more. I think we need to work smarter, not harder. A lot of the time, and I agree with you from a communication point of view, the communication breakdown doesn't help us, and I think we can collaborate more. I get frustrated when you make decisions without consulting me first. Not that you should have to, because you have the lion's share of control of this. But sometimes, you'll message people, like I sent someone recently, and you'll make a decision to turn a message them and give them, for example, constructive feedback.
Yeah.
And I'll say to you, why the fuck have you done that? Because I'm constantly thinking that a bridge burnt is a path we can no longer walk. You look at, it's an episode we did put out, we might put out one day, but Pete and Bearded Ginger Sauce Company.
Yeah.
Even though the guy was annoyed at me, ultimately, or a betrayal of me,
Yeah.
I didn't want to burn that bridge.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't a bad guy, wasn't a bad product. And you never know what, reputation is everything in this game.
Yeah.
Because I've got more experience in handling people and marketing brands
Relationships.
and fostering relationships.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to guide you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I want to mentor you into the things you need to be an effective leader. Sometimes I think because we're such close friends, and ego is always an issue, and not actively but subconsciously. Sometimes I think what you just go to is, I know what I'm doing, I don't need to ask John's approval.
Yeah.
And I'm not coming at like I want to control you or dominate you.
Yeah.
I'm coming at it from a place of use the benefit of my experience as a resource around you because I know about this shit.
Yeah.
I know what's effective and what's not. I know what's going to turn people on and what's going to turn people off. So there's that.
Okay.
So that's the am I happy with it. What was the next part of that question?
Just to add a bow onto that, do you mean approval or input?
Input, not approval.
Okay. Cool.
So I say everyone thinks
Fine.
past me, not for me to sign off on.
Yeah.
I think we should make decisions together,
Yeah.
but
I
not
agree.
based on one having more dominant opinion than the other. I think it should
Yeah.
be consensus. That's a good thing about having three.
Yeah.
I think it should be majority vote rules.
Yeah. If it means that we got to get on a video call with each other for 20 minutes to find that one-liner,
I'd fucking
then
love to do
it's
that.
worth doing.
It's worth doing. In the end,
What else did I say? So, are we happy currently? And what does the future look like? Or should we just double down on what we're currently doing and make it slowly... Like, I'm really, really big at the moment into something called marginal gains, which is every single episode of ABP gets 1% better. And that's really fucking hard to do, because we've got a good formula and we've got a good recipe for a good meal at the moment. So sometimes that's like trying to wring out a dry sponge.
No, I know what you're getting at. I agree. And I would say, for example, your interview technique. If you look back at 18 months ago's episodes compared to you now, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And I know because I've done it recently.
Yeah.
Because I do these things. Because, I haven't got very much time on my hands for anything else. I would like to see us broaden the horizons to try different types of content. I like the review space.
Yeah.
I'd like us to do reviews in a different way. I've often said to you, I'd like us to go to public spaces. Do a podcast from the pub. Do a podcast at the cafe. Do a podcast from walking in the forest. Do a podcast on the beach. Find a way to make these kind of everyday surroundings and scenarios work, where we can talk to everyday people or talk to semi-famous people, but do something along those lines.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm always thinking about how we could push the envelope and do something different. Like we talked about going and meeting Dave. Or maybe go to Clarkson's farm, dressed as fucking, as farm animals and things of this nature.
Now, okay, this is very pertinent at the moment because Clarkson's about to open a pub.
Yeah.
That will bang. 100%.
If
we go to Clarkson's pub the day it opens, that will be a fucking incredible YouTube video.
That's worth the journey.
However, and this is something that I haven't actually mentioned until now, you need to come with me.
When is it open?
You need to book that weekend off, John, and you need to come with me.
We don't get weekends
None of this
today.
Wheatus bullshit, right? If you say, let's do it, let's make a fucking YouTube video on that thing, then I will pick you up at 8 AM and we will drive 400 fucking miles down the road. I don't actually know when it opens, to answer your question.
Well, we need to find out. Do you know what I would want to do?
these things happen in isolation sometimes, and we talk a lot about doing things and meeting people and buying the KFC dead man fingers and dressing up as chickens in your fucking kitchen and reviewing it, and we don't do it. So that's
only because
something
we couldn't
that
get
I
hold
think
of it, then we missed the
there's logistical reasons behind everything, and
I've always
obviously
got crazy
there's-
ideas.
There's always childcare.
Here's what I
and,
wanna do.
You know, weekends are tricky for us both. Yeah, go on.
We either need 1 or 2 more people to come with us.
Okay.
If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right.
Okay.
That's for Top Gear.
James.
One of us is Stig, one of us is Clarkson, one of us is Hammond, one of us is May.
Your mate James could be James May. Straight out of the gate. Boom.
It would be good.
Yeah.
I think I'm very much like Clarkson, to be fair, as well.
But can you hear our voices change just by talking about that idea?
I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
Imagine we've got
we
Jerry
need-
behind the bar.
To fucking do it. Like, that has
Imagine
like,
walking up to the bar, recording,
Yeah.
right? And you order a pint, and the pounds back, and we go, some say he runs a farm in the Cotswolds. Others say that he drives a car and once got stuck in a Peel P50. All we know is it's Jeremy Clarkson. Give him a round of applause!
This Hawkston's beer is the best beer in the world.
I'm not saying it would be a substitute, but Hawkston's beer would be drunk by the baby Jesus.
Let's open a pub. How hard can it be?
I fucking love Jeremy Clarkson.
Lightning in a bottle, baby.
Oh, it's so good.
Right, okay, so,
Right, fan questions.
fan questions, because fuck me, this has gone on a bit.
We have run 45 minutes long.
Right, let's go straight in the deep end. Dan Pike, check his book out, Fauville.
Oh, we love
Legend of a guest, and we interviewed him. I interviewed him.
YouTube fucked us. We had
Downstairs.
5,000 views on that.
Yeah, that
episode,
was
and they
weird.
completely ripped all our views away for no reason at all. Fuck you.
Yeah, I was on holiday and watching the view count double and then suddenly retract back to normal. Straight out the gate, Mr. DK Pike, would you kill someone you loved if it meant saving the entire world from immediate doom? What the fuck has that got to do with the podcast, Dan?
Oh, it's a great question.
It's a question.
I can only answer this myself through the guise of my childhood favourite. I'm a huge lover of Dragon Ball,
Yeah.
and I've seen it happen a million times. And the answer is yes, I would. If I had to sacrifice someone I really cared about and loved dearly, outside of my children, I will stipulate that,
Yeah.
including myself, yes, I would, if it was going to save the world. If sacrificing my own life saved everybody else's, then I would do it in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think twice about it. I'd throw myself in front of the fireball. I would throw myself in front of the bullets and the bombs. I would do that if it meant saving the world, if I knew that unequivocally. Yes, I would.
I think I would as well, but I would also boomerang what you've just said about it being like a family member or a kid. You can't go killing kids, even if the Thanos
Depends
thing
on the
of,
kid.
you know. Well, yeah, that's true. But if it's your
Actually,
kid,
did you say that? I don't realise. I don't think I can actually say that out loud. So it depends on the kid. I don't mean it depends on the kid, like it's okay killing kids. What I mean is, it depends on the relationship you have with the human being. Let's put it that way. That's a better way of putting it. I think it depends entirely on the relationship you have with the human being, regardless of age range. I would not want any child to be sacrificed for any reason because I think they've got a lot more. They've got life to live. Just to be absolutely unequivocally clear on that. But it's specifically for me. Outside of my own children, I am going to be selfish about it. I would not sacrifice my children for fucking anything. I would sooner be raped by a big bow than let anything happen to my kids.
just to caveat that, there's one kid that I hate. And I'm talking to you if you're watching this. There was one kid when I used to take Casper to soft play in Weymouth, Fun Factory, that used to pull Casper's hair because it was quite long, not quite as locky as yours. But I remember going up to that kid and saying, "Where is your parents? Because what you're doing right now is not acceptable." So I'd kill that kid straight up.
I've got two kids that I hate, actually. There's one who is just a couple of years above my boy in school, and it's got been a cause of him getting suspended a couple of times for stupid things by encouraging him, because the kid's fucking just an absolute head case. Fucking hate that kid. You and your hunchback stepmom prick. And the other one is, I got to be discreet about how I say I hate this kid.
Okay, take your time.
Because if I've read it the wrong way, it'll be incredibly obvious who it is and whose kid it is. You're a snotty little weirdo. You're just a snotty little weird kid.
I'm there.
And you think it's acceptable to call me Johnny when I've already said I hate it. I've threatened to dangle you by your ankles before, and I fucking would. When you're 18, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. That is pretty much the long story short. I made that conscious decision in my mind. As soon as you are an adult, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you.
Okay.
Because you're a dickhead.
So, that's the first question. So, to answer from my perspective, I would kill someone to save the world. But, Dan, how did we get to this point, mate?
I thought you were a really reasonable, sensible human being, Dan, I've got to be honest. And now you're asking us if we kill kids, basically. You've made a whole tangent about us hating children, which is now apparently how this episode's going to be remembered.
Well, his initial question, I said, can you ask me a better question, please? Why do you podcast? Which we've just answered. Covered. So, yeah, thanks for the mental question, Dan. Appreciate it.
Legend.
Mark Vanman Talks. So, I'm not saying that this was spurred by me, but I asked him, can you ask me a question which the answer will get read out on my next podcast?
You don't have to keep saying, can you ask me a question? Because we've established you've asked some of these.
But what I said after that is important. Essentially, I'm trying to open up a bit more and show the audience a bit more about me and John, and I'm doing an Ask Me Anything for it. Guess what fucking Vanman Talks' community fucking post is as of last night, 8 PM. Doing a Q&A. He stole my idea.
Yeah, but it is political discourse, still a catfish.
I can't exactly patent a Q&A, can I?
I don't think he was the first.
I'm not Terrence Howard. Right. What is your all-time favourite live band? Or if you can't decide on one, can you give me a top 5?
Ooh.
This is a banger of a question.
That's a fucking fantastic
hard.
question. That's a fantastic question.
Do you want me to go first? Or do you know? Because I did give you a bit of a heads up on this one.
I've seen a lot of bands live. Played with a lot of bands live. Could be very arrogant to say my own. Particularly fond of. I'm going to go very left field. And I don't think I've ever told you I've seen this band live before they became big.
Okay.
Many, many moons ago, when I was younger, I was registered as a young carer. My parents both disabled. My mum and my former stepdad growing up. As a result of that, some of the perks where they would do a young carers like camping weekend, a festival in Southampton.
Yeah.
During one of these, and I've still got the EP somewhere actually.
Mm.
I saw a certain band called Tesseract before they broke through.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say it was one of the greatest live performances I've ever seen in my life. They're really fucking good. No stage show about it, just the raw energy of the band was just fucking phenomenal. Outside of that, I suppose actually big bands, like proper fully bands that have made it. The other two I'd go with. Naturally, Alter Bridge, I've seen them so many times. Yeah. I fucking just love it. Miles and Mark and Brian and Scott are just fucking phenomenal live. The one that blew me away, I'll go to where is this? The one that disappointed me, and the one that blew me away were two different Alter Bridge bills. I thought Shinedown, I thought Brent Smith would absolutely blow me out my arse because he's an incredible singer. Felt quite let down by Shinedown. The ones that absolutely blew me away, changed my perception of them entirely. Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah.
Fuck me. So good.
Yeah, they're good.
So tight, so polished. And I'll tell you now, there is nothing overproduced about their albums. They do it live exactly like it's on the recording.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. They don't make a mistake.
Fair enough. Okay.
I like band and I like to see Billy Sheehan as many times as anything.
I haven't actually seen Steve Vai. Or Mr. Big. Or David Lee Roth. Yeah.
Be with you.
Never met him, Billy Sheehan. Ever.
That's not true.
He's a fantastic bass player. Real.
Physical. You technically met him, haven't you?
Meta.
Full of shit.
Right, so top 5. First band I ever saw, which was a bit of a weird moment, was obviously I saw the opening acts, but I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Majestic Stadium.
It's 5-1, is it?
5, yeah. So yeah, I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers, who were my favourite band at the time, with my stepdad. Saw them as my first band, which was pretty cool. I agree about Alter Bridge. I think they're fantastic live. I think I saw them in Birmingham, potentially at the NEC Arena. And that was just when they were touring Fortress. So there was a couple of moments where Mark would sing, and he did The Waters Rising, which is just an incredible song.
So good.
I don't think they played Farther Than the Sun, which I was a bit gutted by, but you can't win them all. Maybe one day. I've seen In Me countless times, and they are fantastic every single time. They put on a hell of a show. Dave is just living for it, and he's just really having a great time. And I've met all of the members now through Hourglass and through other means of begging them at Teddy Rocks. Who else have I seen live that's absolutely blown me out of the water? Billy Talent at Download 2009 was fantastic. I really like Billy Talent, and I will not be swayed otherwise.
Oh man, that's cringe.
Yeah. I did see Blackstone Cherry the same day, and they were fucking good. Exactly what you've just said about them being as good as they are in the studio. Fifth live band that I've ever seen. Fuck me.
I think it's an obvious one at number
goes
one.
into a real.
I mean, I mentioned before,
weird
I say my
section.
number one.
Go on.
Desert Rose, obviously.
Motorhead. I saw Motorhead.
I'm going to give you a hand on hit, Ben.
Fuck Desert Rose, man. I'm
No,
past
no,
that shit.
I did Desert Rose trying to trigger you, but I'm giving you a hand on hit. Named your 5 favourite bands
Fraggle
you've seen live, right? You literally see me have Finn's Weymouth in the palm of my hand, Ben.
Yeah.
A band once described by Chris Fuzzy Coombs as the next Metallica didn't even put me in your top 5. What a cunt!
Yeah. Well, that's because you went over your time at the Battle of the Bands at Rendezvous.
Yeah, but we're allowed to. We're the best band in county by a mile. That's what
getting-
Daddy had us let us.
I was getting told to get the fuck off stage 28 minutes
One
in.
day we'll get all the people, all the major players in that situation around the desk to talk about it. But
Try to get Danny out.
there was a time, right, when I was in a band that was considered the best band in the south of the country, and I was considered incredible, probably the best voice on the south coast. There was a time when that was true.
Yeah.
Time's still now, just people just don't realise it. But that's,
I was very lucky. I got to see Joan Jett, Motorhead, and Alice Cooper, and I'm very, very sad to report that Alice Cooper was shit.
But he's old as
But
fuck.
I'd also just seen Joan Jett and Motorhead, so it's like, how the fuck
Joan
can
Jett's
you...
still fit.
Cherry bomb. Right, other questions. Thank you for your question, Dan. And Mark, believe Van Man. No, Van Man talks. Oh, I got a lot of messages. Right, so what's the best story you've heard on your podcast that a guest has had for you? And obviously you can answer this one as well if you want. I said to Ollie from Perpetual Paradox and currently People Slicer that one of the best guest stories I heard was quite recent. It was Sian Lewin, who's a children's author. And she was umming and ahhing about releasing a book, and she wasn't really sure if it was going to do well, and you get this self-doubt, don't you, when you're a creative person. She then got diagnosed with a pretty major illness, and it kind of acted as a bit of a wake-up call for her, and she used that as a vehicle to release her books, which are now like on Amazon, and they're doing quite well. And she met fucking Theo Paphitis from Dragon's Den to help release the books. And that being the catalyst of positive rather than hiding away in a shoebox room for all of eternity. I think that's quite a powerful message sometimes, that you just need to get out there and release the book.
I know for me, like, I keep harping back to it, but my favourite story that we've had on an episode, I'd still go back to, I'd say Andy Collette. I like Colette's story of how she was when you asked about school days.
Yeah.
And how tumultuous and much of a renegade and how much of a tearaway she was.
Yeah.
And how she's turned into what she is now. I think it's a real, it's a real champion that anyone can be anything you set your mind to, no matter the challenges that are put in front of you in life. I've always been a huge fan of that.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Cool.
Jez Carbon Kid, what's been your main takeaway from doing the podcast as a whole? Is it based on an interest in the diversity of people, or is it their careers, or is it something else that inspires you to keep doing it? So I've answered this already, but it's, for me, it's coming up with good questions, showing that I've done my research, and also kind of just giving them a bit of airtime and getting them to promote stuff for 10 minutes without me interrupting them.
That's interesting. Because my response would be seeing the process to beginning to end. So it's the dopamine release I get when we get it's live and it goes uploaded. Before even anyone's viewed it, we know it's there and it's going to hit there, it's done, and it's safe, and it's live. And the minute it goes live, that's the fulfillment I get, that we've completed another one in the cycle without any problems. And it's interesting we both give those kind of answers because that's really ego-driven. It's got nothing to do about the guest or what their channel is. So, that's honest, at least. But, yeah, for me, it's the dopamine release, the full cycle being completed.
Rizwan, who is 90 Bro, who's just done a collaborative thing with Carbon Kid, Jez. What is the hardest thing that you've had to let go of that's concerned the podcast? So, I've gotten rid of a couple of people as the person that pays the people to do the thing. I don't think there's much really else. One thing that I was a bit gutted was when your hard drive... Was it your hard drive on your desktop?
Yeah,
we lost the
webcam
original ABP jingle, didn't we?
Yeah, I had to rebuild it.
Talking about topics and stuff. That thing.
I missed the pieces because it used to be so good to use the undercurrent. Dun, dun, dun.
I've always been quite resilient though, and when stuff does get factory reset or breaks and you have to start again, I actually quite enjoy that process. And I'm not trying to recreate things as they were. I try to use it as an opportunity to create something fresh.
I think we've taken that as a vehicle to do that as well, to be fair, even in that scenario. I think for me, realising I can't be a one-man army behind the camera.
Yeah.
That took a while as when we talked about bringing Marty in. And I know that's a decision you had to make, you had to deal off your own back.
Yeah.
Because I would never have agreed to it at the time. I was holding us back inadvertently. Not intentionally, but because I was so busy, I was trying to be all things to all men all the time, including this.
Yeah.
Not being able to completely let go of that control on my own. It was a big learning curve. When I realised that surprise wouldn't necessarily be a negative thing, I think I became a lot more easy with the idea that other people would get involved. And other people's creative vision was important. It's not just about what I think.
Yeah, I remember that now, because we had a WhatsApp call with Marty, the three of us on the same call. And I remember you messaged me afterwards saying I took a bit of a change of attitude, because I was going to come in kind of quite defensive and kind of like, who the fuck is this guy? But I couldn't even remember that.
Yeah, I remember trying to tell myself before
it.
that, be open-minded, feeling quite negative about it all, and then coming out feeling very positive. So that was probably the biggest thing for me.
Well, it's all about people.
Sorry guys, I'm yawning.
Just
so you know, it's fucking 11:20 at night, and I've been working since 7 o'clock this morning, so I'm a bit tired.
It's all good. That's it. Actually, there's one more. Sorry. One more. Jesus Christ, why is this person DMing me? Scap Kalo, who is an anonymous musician on Instagram, who I plan to get on at some point in the future. What made you start your podcast, and what is the ultimate goal / top 2 guests for it? So we've already said why the podcast exists and what I want out of it, which I thought was actually quite a good question from John. What's my ultimate goal? To be able to earn some passive income, to be able to actually pay my editors correctly rather than a bit of a shit static upload.
Stakeholder, you kiss my black ass.
Yeah, so the whole 60-40 thing doesn't really currently work because it doesn't generate any money.
Doesn't it?
So it's built on a bit of a straw man situation.
The 40% is working lovely for John's bank.
The ultimate goal with it is to just get it to as many ears as possible. I want to do more in-person interviews. I do want to get some more paranormal people on as well. I want to do some ghost walks with them, and I want to collaborate with other
Derek
people.
Akora would be amazing if he's still alive. I don't think he is.
Well, we could potentially connect with him through...
That'd be amazing. Imagine trying to connect with Derek Akora from beyond the grave.
There's been a couple of things that we've
Shapeshifters.
spoken about that we just haven't been able to progress, like the Andrew Tate interview.
Yeah.
Sleep Token, we were going to do the Vessel thing, weren't we? Which we still could do.
Just so people are aware,
Yeah.
I think I could say this. This is truthful, so I can say this. We do have an interview with Andrew Tate. Just so you're all aware of this. We do actually have this. We have the footage of this. It's the time to put it together, polish it, and get it out, and not get it cancelled at the same time.
Yeah.
because it's pretty controversial, some of the stuff he's talking about.
Yeah.
Certainly around the Navy and his feelings around that during the courses. I don't know how we got onto that topic of conversation, but there is the content there. It will go up eventually, probably when we're well past the party time. But yeah, just so everyone's aware, there is an Agitate episode that will go out one day, and if it doesn't, we'll always keep you guessing.
Yeah. So thank you for asking those questions. I've nailed how to get questions out of people now, by the way. This is a proper strip curtain moment.
Give me your question, I'm going to punch you in the face, you can.
Basically, just rather than putting Instagram stories up and kind of like hitting 42 to 68 people's eyes and then them going, oh, a shiny thing, and becoming ADHD, like most people.
DM directly.
Yeah. Literally just message them and say, hey, just to let you know, I'd really like to have a question from you. And then they feel that obligation that I'm talking directly to them, and they respond, rather than casting a wide net and getting fuck all fish back.
Ben, I'm so glad that at 34 years old you finally learnt the master the skill of, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
Comes down to that.
On that note, buy Goat Energy.
Yeah, buy Goat Energy, you fucking cunts.
Bet them 10! But yeah, this has been fun, and thank you.
Give an answer question.
For what question? What?
2 guests.
2 guests. Oh, right, yeah. Henry Rollins.
I'm a liar!
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I'm trying to praise you. We have a pretty scrappy setup here, but we've managed to do fuckloads with it. The next thing we need to buy for this setup is an external hard drive. And I've been saying that to you for about a year now.
Well, I don't think an external hard drive is really the key thing. It makes sense, it'd be safer, more secure. I think the next thing we need to buy is studio space. But that's probably just my opinion, because there's only so much we could do in my house.
We need another ring
And
light
to be
as well.
fair, we have done a fucking load with what essentially is my house. And, you know, with a few webcams, ring lights, and just creative understanding the aesthetics and the acoustics of a room. Really, it's been down to my understanding of the surroundings we're in and how to make it work.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Benefits of being an audio engineer.
Going downstairs to coming upstairs to... But this is an opportunity for you guys to get involved. If you like what you see and you want it to get better, check out the Patreon, check out the Ko-fi. All donations and all Patreons get split across the team. It's not just me building an empire. It's genuine, like, it's going to make this look better as well.
I'll tell you what, guys, if we can get 100 subscribers to the Patreon, right, I promise you I will actually give you some stuff. Actually, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this last night. I'll tell you what I'll do. If we can get 100 subscribers to the Patreon, I will start once a week doing a watch-along review of all 12/13 of the original Dragon Ball movies.
Okay.
Can't get fairer than that.
Any tier on Patreon, because there's 3 tiers.
Top tier.
Top tier.
Get on the top tier.
Cool.
I thought it was just dream big. And I will do live watch-alongs for all of them.
Okay.
You don't need to do it. I will just sit there and do it, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool.
I am the knowledge of all things Dragon Ball, my own head.
But yeah, we're big on improving the setup and trying to make this as interactive as possible. So A, we need people to watch. B, we need a bit of crowdfunding. It works for your mate Terry.
Yeah.
So why the fuck can't it work for this?
More importantly, I've read an article today by Bella Danger I was telling Ben about, that apparently some male porn stars have mechanical dick enhancements where they have a button inside their testicles that makes them have super dick. And we're not going to be able to afford super dick if you don't start subscribing to the Patreon and the Ko-fi. So help up me and Ben obtain super dick.
We're currently sat on just fine dick.
We just got that good dick.
Okay.
We just got that good dick energy. We just got that human good dick energy.
You tried.
We want that super dick. We want to be, you know, by day, mild-mannered Clark cunt. By night, super dick. That's what we need to have going down.
What a way to end.
It
Any
is.
parting words?
We will be back. We will be bigger, better, stronger than before.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, and for the foreseeable, there'll be rambles. But they won't be talking about topics and stuff.
Harsh but true. And thank you to John and Marty for being on this adventure with me. It is genuinely good fun.
And sorry, I drank all the Shanty Spirit.
You still got ginger beer though,
We do have ginger beer. I drank all the vodka. It's fucking lovely.
and the rum.
Yeah, I did drink all the rum too.
Why is the rum gone?
And I drank a load of the goat.
Yeah, and a myth.
And a myth.
Shit. Right. Bye.
Who? What? Where? Why?